So we are getting a lot of great questions from the kids. I feel like I am learning a lot tonight. Next up is a good one here. We're joined by 9-year-old Colette, who looks like you're in your own personal classroom there. How's the remote learning going, Colette?
Good.
Yeah? Okay, I like your chalkboard back there. So what question do you have for Dr. Chan?
I have type 1 diabetes. Should I be more worried about catching corona than, say, my parents or my brothers?
Oh, great question, Colette. Thanks for asking that. And I'm sorry that's something that you have to deal with, especially at such a young age. I think anybody can become infected with this new coronavirus that causes COVID-19. That might be a term that you hear frequently. I think we want to protect everybody, children, adults, people who have health conditions like diabetes, or people who may be healthy. We know that this is a virus that can infect anybody, and we want to stop it from spreading within our communities. What we have seen is that people who are older, so older adults, particularly older, maybe grandparents, for example, are more at risk of, if they get this new coronavirus infection, from needing to maybe be hospitalized, for example. We know that people who have underlying chronic health conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure or underlying lung problems, some people can have asthma or lung damage, have problems breathing, that they can potentially be more susceptible to complications, maybe needing more medical care or medical treatment. But it's always hard to predict. But just because you have diabetes doesn't necessarily mean that if you get this new virus infection that you'll have worse sickness or worse illness. But we want to keep you and others healthy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next question comes from my son Tegan. He's 12. And what's your question?
My question is, when am I going to get to go to the orthodontist and get my braces off?
Well, Tegan, you have a great smile. It's a good question. For the last month and a half or so, a lot of things have been locked down, so to speak. Doctors' offices have been closed, dentists, offices, and people that help, care for your teeth and your mouth, their offices have been closed. But we're starting to have conversations. In fact, I was recently on a call with dentists talking about that exact question, about how do we safely get offices back open so that kids like yourself can get the teeth care that they need.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Okay.
Thanks, Tegan.
So I know a lot of kids have been so disappointed with this spring because they can't play some of the games they're used to playing, going to the park, playing on their team. So our next question covers that. We're joined by Leela. Leela, what's your question?
Will we be able to play team sports soon?
Good question, Leela. What sports do you play?
I was going to play lacrosse, and I also do cheer.
Excellent. And Leela, what grade are you in?
First.
First grade. Great. Well, we want people to be able to get outside and stay active and healthy. One of the problems with this new coronavirus, with COVID-19, I'm not sure if that's a term that you're familiar with, is that it spreads from person to person when they're close to one another. And so right now where we are is we're asking people to keep a safe distance of at least 6 feet from other people. 6 feet is, sometimes it's hard for people to know exactly how far that is, but that's about 2 of my arm lengths. And sometimes that's a little bit difficult with sports where you're huddling or you're together, or with cheerleading. I think you mentioned sometimes you're right next to one another. And so that we've asked that not happen right now. And so you'll notice that there aren't sporting events happening. I think at some point we hope that that can resume, but when that's going to happen, it's hard to say. I don't have an exact time of when that's going to happen. I think it's unlikely to happen now, in the next couple of months. I think it's unlikely going to happen over the summer. But I think what the situation looks like after the summer, it's hard to predict, and it's hard to know. So I think we want people to get outside and be active and healthy, but we're still in this situation where people need to, be safe and stay at least 6 feet away from other people, and that can be hard with team sports. Are there other things that you can do to stay active outside? Other sports that you can do or other activities?
We play we do fishing. We play fishing outside in the grass.
Leela, have you caught anything good in the grass when you've been fishing outside?
No, nothing.
Can we get a quick cheer, Leela?
No.
No? Come on. We need a little cheering up.
You put her on the spot.
All right, Leela, thank you.
So our next question comes from Georgia. She's 8. And Georgia, what do you have to ask of Dr. Chan? What's your question?
How does the virus spread the person that doesn't even know they don't have it?
Well, Georgia, that's a great question. I think your question is about how someone can get the virus, right? And we think it spreads from one person who is sick to another person. And so I don't know if you've ever been around someone who is not feeling well, and maybe they're coughing and sneezing, and they're able to spread the virus through the little droplets of water that come out of their mouth and nose when someone speaks, or when they sneeze, or when they talk to you. So we think you have to be in close contact, so within a few feet of someone, in order to become infected with this virus. But someone has to be infected and sick with the virus for you to get it from someone else.
Thank you.
And there you go. And that's why we have social distancing out there right now. And, it's funny because I don't know the answers to a lot of these questions, so I'm learning a lot here tonight. I'm assuming you get questions all the time, Dr. Chan.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions, and I think that the questions that you're hearing Georgia and others ask are actually very similar questions to what I think a lot of adults are asking. And I think to one of the earlier questions, this is a brand new virus, right? We've never seen this virus infect people until a few months ago when we first identified it. We were first able to find out what specific virus was making people sick. And so partly our understanding of how this virus infects people and how it spreads has changed. And so we know now that people can pass it from one person to another, maybe in the couple of days before they even develop symptoms. And that makes it much more difficult to try and keep people safe and healthy and prevent the virus from spreading person to person.
All right, our next question comes from 10-year-old Lucia. Lucia, what's your question?
If you are near someone with coronavirus, will you definitely get it?
Hi, Lucia. Thanks for your question, and I think that goes off of what I think a lot of other people have been asking is what's the chance that someone's going to become infected with the virus, and it's awfully hard to predict who's going to become sick. We think that anybody could get the virus. It doesn't have to just be people that are older or adults. Certainly there have been situations where children can become infected with the virus. We think it requires being close to someone, physically close to someone, to get the virus from someone else. But in terms of who's going to get the virus and who isn't, really depends on a number of things. How close you are to that person, how long you're in close contact with them, whether they're covering their nose and mouth when they cough and sneeze, for example. So we've certainly had situations where people have been infected with this new virus and other family members haven't gotten sick despite being, in close living situations. But there's been other situations where, people have gotten, sick, and it's hard to predict who is going to get the virus and who isn't. But we do know that it can spread very easily. And that's part of the reason why you're hearing a lot of talk probably on the news and in your community about needing to make sure that people, what we call social distance, meaning stay a safe distance away from one another to prevent this virus from spreading from one person to another.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Great job.